search is changing. We don't know where it's going to be in 6 months. And I'm saying this for 14 years in the game. Like I've heard all my life, SEO is dead, SEO is dead, SEO is dead. And every time I'm going, no, it's not. And it's the first time I'm actually going, it actually could be. So what I'm saying is that to future-proof yourself, if all your eggs are in the SEO basket, that's a really bad move. Also, stop trying to optimize for LLMs for today. Yes, you should, that's best practices. That's a waste of your time too, unless you're optimizing for those searches, those prompts that trigger a live search. If that's the case, make sure you're in the top 10. But other than that, future-proof yourself. My last thing is that, because I'm like this, don't be afraid to put your face in front of a camera. Don't be afraid to do these type of things because this is the way it is now. And also, if you are in chat and you are in Instagram and you are in TikTok, as long as you're on places where your audience could be, you're hitting some point in their journey, because anyone that says they can map out a whole customer journey is insane. So that's my thing. Don't put all your eggs in the SEO basket. But as you approach new platforms, SEO is still relevant in terms of competitor analysis, audience analysis, messaging. I'm Gordon Meagher, and this is SEO in 2026.
Gordon, what's your number one SEO tip for 2026?
It's time to put your old school digital marketing hat on as we move forward in this new age.
Okay, sounds interesting. It sounds like it's almost a strange piece of advice in that there's so much happening in SEO now in terms of AI and how things are changing and how the SERP is changing. So what does putting your old school digital marketing hat on actually mean in practice?
Yeah, so for me, we know the search behavior is changing. This is ChatGPT, LLMs in general I think they basically gave birth to a new way of searching that we never knew before. We were always 10 blue links on a page. LLMs have changed that, how people want their answers. Now, I don't think you can put it back in the box, but I think the biggest thing is that the uncertainty around where Google search is going itself. Will Google search even be a thing once AI mode comes in and the adoption rates increase for like LLMs and these type of answers? So for me, I think it's going to go back to how we used to market years ago, because basically I feel now that once Google released AI mode, for me, it was the end of SEO. And I don't say that lightly. They also broke an unwritten rule with publishers, which always was, we create the content, we live by your rules, you send those traffic. That paradigm has now shifted. And I think that LLMs in general, people are kind of, and we can talk about this in more depth, they're putting all their eggs into LLM optimization. Well, LLMs for me are not marketing channels as of yet. They might be, but they're not. So I think what's important, because we don't know what's happening, it's important to be on channels where your audience are. That could be Instagram, that could be LinkedIn, that could be YouTube, could be Pinterest. So for me, it's having a presence on, I would say, these platforms where your audience are and finding ways to engage them on those platforms. Because I feel that having all your eggs in an SEO basket now is probably one of the worst marketing decisions you could make. Like, I know lots of companies that just do SEO and that's all they've done for ages, but that's going to have diminishing returns going forward. So you need to have a more robust marketing strategy. And for me, this is old school digital marketing, being on multiple channels, meeting your audience where they are, and then being able to convert that into engagement, then into your funnel.
So is SEO just changing to organic discovery on different platforms and optimizing for different platforms for organic free traffic? Or is it still SEO?
Yeah, I would say I like the term search everywhere optimization. This is a kind of buzzword that we're seeing around the community at the moment. And I do feel there is still a very important role for SEOs in this new world, because even with digital marketing or anything like that, as an SEO, right, I have to optimize those platforms for keywords X, Y, Z. But there was always more to SEO than just that. There's the market research in the background. Are my audience here? How many of them are here? Are they engaging with my competitors on these platforms? How much engagement are my competitors getting? And it's that, I would say, deeper analysis of the competitor sphere of where they are is what SEOs for me, we were brought up on. It's keyword optimization is perfect, but it's that market competitor optimization or analysis in the back end that was always core to any SEO strategy.
So in 2026, how is the most effective way to actually determine who your audience is and how to go about determining where they hang out online?
Yeah, so I think that for some niches, like in our niche, in SEO in general, LinkedIn, we know that LinkedIn is going to be one of the big powerhouses to generate visibility, traffic, and leads. But also YouTube is another great discovery platform for our niche, but also YouTube is pretty good for most kind of businesses as well that have that educational part to their business. Whereas if I'm like an e-commerce store, maybe YouTube is not good for me, but Instagram is probably awesome for me. TikTok is probably awesome for me. So it's kind of understanding what you do as a business, where your audience might be. And I think you need to break down, what does my product really do? Like if I'm in like a niche that, I don't know, I sell air conditioners to, I don't know, factories. Well, maybe Instagram is not going to be the best place for me, but I need to find out where my audience is hanging out. I need to go, is it on forums? Is Facebook a place where they are? You need to find it, because basically Google will diminish, but also it's not over for Google. You have to understand as well that the way LLMs work today, you have to remember they're frozen in time. So they are only up to date on their latest training. Fine. But Google is still there. And what you will find is that certain searches that are not easily answered by AI overviews or by LLMs, the intent of searches that are more down the funnel, these are queries that the users have that are basically, they won't be satisfied by an AI overview. The query itself tells you that they would need more information to satisfy the query. And I think this is another part of it as well. I think understanding intent, I like to see it as like, are you LLM resistant? Are your queries LLM resistant? And what this means is, if you could be eaten up by an overview, then you probably shouldn't be looking at that content. But content where, that deeper step is needed by the searcher, that content was still going to survive. I'm not sure what it looks like on Google 10 blue links going forward, but content like that will never be just answered by an LLM.
So where are you on producing content for LLMs to be consumed on LLMs? Do you think there's a part to play for that type of content, and trust that the users will find out about your brand through that and eventually make their way back to your brand and purchase from you in the future?
No, I think it's too much of an ask. And also, you have to remember that, say I'm creating new content for LLMs now. I'm deep into it. I'm creating optimized content, top of funnel content for LLMs, great. But that content will not be seen until the next LLM update. You cannot appear in LLMs if you're not already there. It doesn't matter what you do now, they won't see it. Unless it's a kind of prompt that triggers a live search where an LLM would have to go and perform a live search itself. And there's a lot of misconceptions around that, because when LLMs do that, they don't look at all the internet. They don't look at your web footprint for that query. They do a simple thing, and it's come out in the last couple of weeks that they basically look at the top results in Google. So the best way to appear in LLMs today for those queries that trigger live searches is get your page in the top of Google. That is it. Like LLMs, like people go, yeah, they look at your footprint. They don't. They don't. Yes, they might look at that in their next training data set, but not for live queries. And you have to understand that. And then you have to understand that you cannot optimize for LLMs. Like, you can't get into them today if you're not already in it. Not for queries where they fall back on training.
And if you do want to optimize to appear in LLMs, are there different types of queries that you need to optimize for? Different phraseology, maybe longer types of keyword phrases that people are more likely to use in LLMs compared with searching on Google?
There's two things on that, right? So say my content is in LLMs, they surface it. I see citations there. I can't optimize my content to make it appear better. LLMs don't see that either. They're frozen in time from when they were trained. So the only way you can really optimize is for live searches. Now, that isn't to say that you shouldn't do best practices for content optimization for LLMs now, or expand digital footprint, because basically you want to be part of that going forward. So you want to kind of future-proof yourself for the next LLM updates. This is a big, you could do this. I recommend it. And then also optimize for those prompts that trigger those live searches.
Are you okay? And you talk a lot about understanding your audience, knowing where your audience are, knowing where they're interacting. Do you use any software to actually to assist you with that? Because it's tricky to, you can have some debates internally, you can have brainstorm with some people within the organization, you can talk to customers, but can you get a better inkling as to who your customers are and where they're likely to be interacting using third-party tools online?
Yeah, so I think that is where a lot of nuance comes into research as well, because a keyword alone doesn't tell you really much about it. It will tell you maybe the intent itself, but I think it's more about, as it always was, understanding pain points. Like a classic thing with Facebook was a thing. I used to join lots of groups that were related to my niche, and within those groups, then you can have searches like issues, problems, how do I, which surfaces those conversations around these kind of things. And now you're actually in groups where your audience are, but you're actually embedded in the groups. And when you then use this, issues, problems, now you're surfacing real questions from real users about issues they have. Other things you can do, go to Amazon, right? Go to a platform like that, look at products. If they are selling something related to what you do as an e-com, see what people are saying in reviews. What issues do they have about this product? Go to Trustpilot, look for services like you, see what customers are saying about that. This time you get to know your audience in the first place. Then it's about looking at different channels. If you don't know where they are, you can go to your competitors, look at their for, see what social channels they are on. It's as simple as that. But just because they're there doesn't mean you should be there. Do your research. Everyone can be on Instagram. Everyone can be on Facebook. But maybe you're wasting your time being there and you should be somewhere else. So this is the kind of way I would look at it.
And how does this fit into an overarching strategy? I mean, do you sit down and do this on a quarterly basis and then try and actually build a roadmap of what your typical user journey is, where the various touch points are likely to be, and focus on those platforms and hone it every 3 months or so?
Yeah. So basically the way this should be part of, if say you've got a company and you've never engaged with an SEO or digital marketer, you don't know much about your audience. All right. So the first part of any strategy will be what I'm saying. Understanding where they are, understanding their pain points, optimizing for the channels where you think you're going to get the most return. And then as you move forward, you want to be adjusting your strategy going, okay, are we generating leads here? Are we generating clicks? Is my Instagram page optimized with my link in bio or my link tree to drive that action? So then you're kind of really refining messaging. Is the messaging sticking? Is the type of content I'm putting out sticking? Is it driving the actions I needed to drive? Because followers, likes, these are all nice metrics, but really you want to be optimizing for bottom line. Are people downloading that checklist? Are people clicking to your website? Are they, signing up to your newsletter, your email list? And you want to really look at it like that. What channels are driving that? But you can't go, Instagram's not working for me or TikTok's not working for me. This is part of the strategy, because you need to refine how you market on those channels for your business.
So what happens if you're working in a large organization and your manager, your stakeholders that you work with are saying, stop talking about Instagram, stop talking about TikTok. You're the Google man, you're the SEO man. Just focus on that and get it done, please.
Yeah, and I would say, I could totally focus on SEO, and there's lots of things we can do. For example, we can focus on content, or we can focus on content that's further down the funnel that is not going to be impacted by AI overviews. We can target more, I would say, long tail product orientated, service orientated searches. They may not have as much search volume as a whole, but when combined, they're giving us a lot more qualified audience coming to our site.
So when the user jumps about so much to so many different places, you don't know what their journey is likely to be even. How do you actually measure success now from an SEO perspective? Do you simply just looking at the bottom line and purchases, or are there other metrics that are still valid?
I honestly believe, and always have, that the only success is bottom. Like anything else is a vanity metric. Unless brand awareness is a key metric to what you want to achieve. It really does come, and I think we missed this. It really always comes down to, what do you want to achieve? Where are you now? So if you're a tiny little brand, okay, brand awareness is going to be huge. How do you get that brand awareness? And mind you, brand awareness in the world of LLMs and AI overviews is very different than before. Because I could kill an industry with all the top of funnel content. I could be everywhere. And this is good. And this was all part of SEO brand awareness. But now with LLMs, not even showing, just like showing like a little link, like not even surfacing your brand name. Brand awareness like we used to in SEO is not the way. Yeah, it will still play a part, but maybe brand awareness is smashing LinkedIn if that's where most of your audience are, really smashing on TikTok. And I'm not a social media guy, but this is how it is. And it for me, brand awareness is a key strategic tactic for any brand that is starting up. But aside from that, I am really looking at metrics like, I need to get opt-in rates up. Okay, that's your key metric. Start with that. That's your kind of North Star. And then develop your strategy to get there. And that's how I look at it. Because anything else, if brand awareness is not part of what you want to achieve now, then you appearing for top of funnel content or really mundane stuff, what does it do? And for me, the bottom line is always, is it actually contributing to the bottom line? And I believe that's the North Star for any strategy.
Gordon, what's the key takeaway from the tip you shared today?
I would say the key tip is that search is changing. We don't know where it's going to be in 6 months. And I'm saying this for 14 years in the game. Like I've heard all my life, SEO is dead, SEO is dead, SEO is dead. And every time I'm going, no, it's not. And it's the first time I'm actually going, it actually could be. So what I'm saying is that to future-proof yourself, if all your eggs are in the SEO basket, that's a really bad move. Also, stop trying to optimize for LLMs for today. Yes, you should, that's best practices. That's a waste of your time too, unless you're optimizing for those searches, those prompts that trigger a live search. If that's the case, make sure you're in the top 10. But other than that, future-proof yourself. My last thing is that, because I'm like this, don't be afraid to put your face in front of a camera. Don't be afraid to do these type of things, because this is the way it is now. And also, if you are in chat and you are in Instagram and you are in TikTok, as long as you're on places where your audience could be, you're hitting some point in their journey, because anyone that says they can map out a whole customer journey is insane. So that's my thing. Don't put all your eggs in the SEO basket. But as you approach new platforms, SEO is still relevant in terms of competitor analysis, audience analysis, messaging.
Gordon Meagher is VP of SEO at Usurp, and you can find him over at usurp.io. Gordon, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2026.
It was awesome, David. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2026, the book, over at SEOin2026.com.